Good morning. I'm going to be doing another reading. This is going to be episode number 7, and it's called Mad Maude. Um, we left off where Alden, Alden's parents came over, and Pop got cleaned up by 3 of the grandkids with a hose and a toilet brush and soap. So now we're on episode 7, and it's called Mad Maude. Stella and the kids took care of the chickens, ducks, and goats. AJ and Ben oversaw the feeder pigs. That was one smelly job that Stella never wanted to deal with. The pig pen and fencing were kept quite far from the house and barn due to the awful stench. On a windy day, there was no stopping that smell from sweeping across the fields straight up their noses. The chickens were easy to take care of. The care of the chickens and ducks fell on Stella and Franny. The chickens free range during the day. Stella would throw food in their coop at night to convince them to roost where they were supposed to. Soon their one rooster Pompadour, a silver-laced Polish frizzle with a dark underbelly, strutted up, his tail feathers streaked with white and black, arcing up and outward in a very fluffy manner. It is his head that steals the show. His head is mostly white with specks of black and silver. His head feathers look like an explosion on top of his head. Some of their female chickens are I don't know how to say this word. I read R. If you guys know how to say this word, it's Araucana. Sounds good to me. They are chickens that lay different color eggs. Often that type of chicken can be called Easter eggers. That's way easier to say, Easter eggers, because they can lay eggs of blue, green, and pink. They also have a few white leghorn chickens and some Rhode Island reds. When eggs are collected daily, the basket practically overflows with white eggs, brown, blue, and green. On occasion, pale pink eggs could be found. A lot of the neighbors buy their eggs because their chickens free range. Stella also thought they bought them because of the colorful assortment that they received. Stella and Francine tried to divide the eggs up, putting lots of color in each egg carton to make it look more attractive. When Stella would call the chickens at the end of the day, Pompadour would strut towards the coop, all his ladies lined up behind him, always in the same order. There is a pecking order with chickens, an extremely strict pecking order. It rules every aspect of their day, from who gets the best treats to the best roosting spot. The stronger, more dominant birds eat first, drink first, rule the dust bathing area, have the most comfortable nesting boxes, and have the best spots on the roosting bar. Chickens bully each other to go up in rank. Older chickens can become weak and unhealthy. Younger, healthier chickens can then take over. Roosters are not exempt from bullying either, especially if there is more than one. However, Pompadour is the only rooster, so he rules. The chickens finally made it into the pendant area with Mad Maude. She's dead last, always dead last. Stella and Franny stood and counted as they went in, just to make sure all the chickens were accounted for. Then they would watch the ducks waddle up from the pond. Ducks also have a pecking order, but nowhere near as strict. Ducks are much more accepting of newcomers, quite social too. Franny loved throwing the food in their fenced in area because the ducks would flap their wings, quacking all the way. Those ducks always seemed ready for a snack. Franny questioned her mom. Mama, why do ducks and chickens do that? Why is that big white duck, boss man, always first, and then Matilda, then Gabby, next Lucille, and last is always Bertha? The chickens too, Ma. Why is Mad Maude always dead last? Stella put her arm around Franny. She explained the pecking order. Ducks as well as chickens have a pecking order. They remind me of a train. First you have the engine, then the various cars, and finally the caboose, Stella said. Franny grinned, her long chestnut curls bouncing as she watched the last duck enter the pen. She quickly closed the door and locked it up tight. Mama, did you see how many eggs I brought in this morning? There were so many. There was a lot of green ones, blue ones, white, and brown. No pink today. Then Francine looked irritated. Do you know what mean old Mad Maude did to me today? She would not get off her eggs. Look, Mama, she bit my finger. Franny waved her bandaged finger at her Mama. Her eyes were all squinty with anger. Oh, my poor baby girl, let me see. Stella removed the band-aid and looked at Franny's boo-boo. Well, honey, we better go in the house and clean that up again and put a new band-aid on that. Mama, why does Mad Maude act like that? Maud is the meanest chicken I ever met. Every day I have to use a stick to move her to get those eggs. Well, Mad Maud is wanting to be a mama. The problem is she's so ornery and part crazy that our rooster Pompadour just ignores her. She needs to sweeten up a bit. So, if Mad Maud is nice, then someday Pompadour might say yes and let her be a mama. That's right, baby girl. She needs to sweeten up. If she wants to be a mom bad enough, then she will. Is that what you did, Mama? Did you be sweet to Daddy so you could have all of us? Francine's big blue eyes peered up at her Mama. Stella felt a blush rising. How to answer this? Uh, yes. Daddy and I are sweet to each other, and yes, I wanted each and every one of my babies. All of you are my whole world. Stella tapped Francine gently on her nose. You are my official egg gatherer, Franny. What if I never had you? Who would I have to gather my eggs? This answer seemed to satisfy Franny for now, thank goodness. All right, episode 8. It's called Aliens. The entire family stood in the yard watching Mad Maud strut and cluck to her baby chicks. But she did not have just baby chicks chasing her. She also had baby ducklings as well. Franny yanked on her mom's shirt. Mama, why are those baby ducks chasing Mad Maud around like they think she is their mama? AJ looked confused too. Yeah, Ma, I have never seen that before. What is that all about? Those baby ducks must be stupid, AJ replied. Just then, some of the adult ducks headed towards Mad Maud. They were excited to see baby ducklings, but the ducklings dove under their mother in alarm. Stella started to explain, but Elijah spoke up. Well, because they all share the same coop, ducks will lay eggs, then they walk away. Also, our ducks and chickens free range. They more than likely drop eggs outside of the coop as well. Mad Maud must have nested on chicken eggs as well as duck eggs, all in the same nest. Eventually, when they hatched, the first thing they all saw was Mad Maud. They all think that she is their mother. AJ looked impressed with his younger brother. Hey, Ma, where'd you get this kid? He is way too smart to be in this family. Alden sent AJ a side glance. Has to be aliens, Alden whispered loudly. Ben snorted. Right, Dad. I think I agree. Aliens landed and injected baby bro with smart lightning, Ben stated. Alden looked confused. What is smart lightning? Alden asked. Ben explained. You know, those lightning bolts in your brain that fire. Elijah told me about those. I figure Elijah got an extra dose somehow. Stella arched her eyebrows. You mean synapses? Ben nodded. Yeah, that's it. What she just said, Ben nodded. Stella and Alden looked at each other. Then they looked down at Elijah. How did you know about synapses in the brain? Stella questioned. Elijah pushed his glasses up on his nose. I read, Elijah stated with all seriousness. Alden leaned in close to Stella and whispered in her ear, Do you feel as stupid as I do standing next to Elijah? Alden questioned. Stella looked Alden straight in the eye. No, dear, I do not. No aliens were used in the formation of this child, Stella told Alden. Alden just gaped at his wife. I think I walked right into that insult, didn't I? Alden muttered. Episode 9. I am my own boss. The entire family went to work building a goat pen. Billy and Betty Joe, their newest additions to the farm, had found their legs. The kid goats were both solid black with spots of white. Thankfully, their spots were in different areas on their body. It made them easier to tell apart. At first, they remained by their mother, but soon they were off on their next new adventure. Their mother, Nanny, was tied to a tree. She was not happy that her babies were getting so far away from her. Nanny would spend hours bleating loudly, yelling, Ma, Ma. Stella was not happy either because the baby goats loved to eat her flowers. When they got into the vegetable garden, that was it. Stella lost it. So here they all were, building the best goat pen ever made. Alden never does anything simple. He makes he made a strong, beautiful goat shed fit for a king. The fenced-in area for the goats is huge. Alden made a bridge too, with stair steps that went up on one side, a platform, and steps going down the other side. Billy and Betty Joe pranced up and down. Billy would head up one side, Betty Joe would go up the other side. They would meet at the top, and once at the top, they would rear up on their back legs, twist their bodies, and charge each other, heads butting. Alden wanted to create a small pond under the bridge, but Stella narrowed her eyes at him and shook her head no. Alden grimaced at his boys. Your mother has spoken. The answer is no, Alden announced. AJ shook his head and spoke up. Thank goodness for Mom, AJ stated. What do you mean by that, son? Alden growled. Alden put his hands on his hips and continued. Hey, if I want a pond, I will make a pond. I am my own man. I will have you know, Alden declared. AJ and Ben smirked at each other. Ben said loudly, What was that, Dad? You said you can make a pond if you want. Ma's not telling you what you can and cannot do, Ben mocked. Alden's eyes shot to Stella to see if she heard, but Stella and Francine had moved away. Stella was bent down talking to Franny. Alden's eyes got all squinty. Hush up, boys. I mean it. Keep your voices down, Alden threatened. AJ laughed and began mimicking his father loudly. But I thought you was your own man, your own boss, blah, 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 AJ accused. Alden dropped the post hole digger. Alden shook his head at the boys. Do not test me, boys. Fine, okay. Your mom rules, but I still own the two of you, Alden informed them. Alden crouched low in a fighting stance with a wicked grin. He lunged at the boys, grabbing them both, taking them down to the ground. AJ was almost as tall as father, and Ben not too far behind. All three began to laugh and grapple. Alden was big and strong, pure muscle, but there were two of them and only one dad. They felt sure that they could team up and wrestle him down. Soon they were all covered in dirt. A couple of their work shirts did not survive. At one point, Alden was sure his face met with some goat dew, but he just kept going. No way was he going to let any of his boys best him. Nanny Goat seemed alarmed that three humans were rolling around in her pen. Betty Joe jumped on Alden's back, thinking this was a great game. Alden let out a yell. Baby goat hooves do not feel good on the spine. Bud No and Ernie started barking. The dogs moved in close, hoping to get them to stop. Stella and Franny ran over to investigate the ruckus. Finally, Alden managed to pin the two boys. Say I love you, Dad, Alden chuckled. Gasping and laughing, the two boys yelled in disgust. Yuck, no, you can't make me, they both cried. Alden had his legs wrapped around AJ. Ben he had in a headlock. Tell me you love me, and I am the king, Alden crowed. AJ could not move a muscle. His arms were pinned at his sides, his face facing his dad's backside. AJ looked like a big old fish flopped on the bank of a river. Dad, AJ gasped and struggled. AJ twisted from side to side, trying to get his face away from his dad's butt. AJ knew this could be a dangerous place to be. Alden smiled. I can do this all night, boys. Tell me I rule, and you drool, Alden demanded. AJ finally spoke up. Fine, you rule, Dad, AJ conceded. Ben joined in. We drool, Dad, Ben gasped with laughter. Alden let them go. They were all bent over, breathing hard, sweating, and filthy. Alden stuck out his hand. AJ slapped his palm. Then Alden stuck his hand in front of Ben. Ben slapped his hand. Alden whispered, "Actually, guys, I think we all rule, and girls drool." They glanced in Stella's and Franny's direction. The guys all cracked up laughing. Then they all went inside to get cleaned up and have lunch. Episode 10. Girls? Summer rolled on, days full of chores, but also picnics, swimming, and family barbecues. Today was a pontoon day, boating around Hardy Pond. The kids loved being pulled around on their huge inner tube. Alden drove the pontoon up to their favorite picnic spot. There was a small beach that was not accessible by road, only by boat. They dropped the anchors front and back. Alden raised the motor. The boys grabbed the grill and cooler, while Stella spread out their blankets. AJ, Ben, Caleb, and David went swimming. Elijah and Francine worked on building a sandcastle. When the burgers were done, Stella called all the kids to eat. Watching the kids eat, Stella could see why they needed to raise their own cows. Stella's food budget was insane. AJ finished up and leaned back. "Hey Mom, Dad, Ben and I met these new kids. They just moved here. Can we invite them over to hang out?" "Well, where do they live?" Stella asked. Ben tried talking with his mouth full until Stella gave him a look. When he was done swallowing, he said, "They moved into the house between Fawn Lane and Locust, down the road from us. It's the second house on the left, the new one, the one that got built in the straight red pines." "Well, how old are they?" Alden asked. "Mine and Ben's age." "Sure, that sounds fine. Invite them over tomorrow if you like, but you guys know the rules. First, I talk to their parents," Stella reminded them. Caleb and David started giggling. Then they started whispering in each other's ears. More giggling until finally they turned to AJ and Ben and started making kissy faces. "AJ and Ben have girlfriends. Smoochy, smoochy, kiss, kiss, kiss." Alden and Stella were confused. "What are you boys going on about?" Alden asked. Elijah, quiet, sweet Elijah, answered their question. "The new kids are girls," Elijah stated mildly. Alden grinned from ear to ear. "Well, all right," Alden exclaimed proudly. Stella frowned. "Wait. You failed to mention that part, guys," Stella said. Stella was feeling a bit stressed. Weren't these boys a bit young to be noticing girls? At what age should she worry? Well, obviously now, she thought. Stella glanced at Alden. He was still grinning. She reached over and smacked him. "What are you smiling about?" Stella glared at Alden. "Honey, our boys are growing up," Alden crowed. Stella grabbed Alden's chin and forced him to look her in the eye. "No, they are not. They are far too young, and we need to all sit down and discuss this. Right, Alden?" Stella huffed. Alden's smile disappeared. "What she said, boys. Listen to your mama." Alden caved all over the place. AJ and Ben jumped in. "Mom, Dad, you have this all wrong. It's not like that. We ran into them at the party store. We were bike riding. They were bike riding. We stopped to get some drinks, and they did too. We all ended up at the picnic table to rest. We started talking and realized we all lived on the same road. So on the way home, we all biked back together." Ben shrugged. "They seemed okay. For girls, anyway." Ben seemed grossed out a bit. Stella looked thoughtful. Her face started to heat up. Um, well, maybe before they come over, we should have the talk. So you guys can be aware of the, hmm, pitfalls and changes in your body." Francine seemed very thoughtful. "What do you mean, Mom? Who's going to be changing into what?" Francine questioned. Stella looked to Alden for help, but he was not even paying attention. "Alden, we need to have the talk with the boys," Stella stated. Alden's mouth was full. He looked confused. "Talk? What talk?" Alden rolled his food around, brows scrunched together. Stella eyed Alden. She gestured with her hands. "You know, the talk. The sex talk," Stella explained. Elijah looked straight at his dad. "Sex, Dad. She's talking about sex," Elijah again said mildly. "What's sax?" Francine asked. "Sex, Francine, not sax. Sex, not sax," Elijah stated. Francine frowned and decided this conversation was boring. She rolled her eyes, got up, and decided she was over this conversation. I'm going back to my sandcastle, Francine said with disgust. Elijah followed. Yes, I'm right behind you, sis. Elijah looked back at his parents. You two sure you can handle this conversation? If you like, I could explain it to them, Elijah said confidently. Stella was floored. Elijah, what could you possibly know about the talk? Stella questioned. Elijah looked at his mother like she was one sad creature. Mom, Dad, of course I have not had sex. I am too young. But I read everything. Trust me when I say I completely understand the physical as well as the hormonal changes teens go through when dealing with puberty. Elijah walked away. Both of his parents were stunned. For a split second, Stella considered letting Elijah take over the talk. Stella came out of her dazed state and nudged Alden. Alden tossed his burger down. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, when we get home, we can all sit down and talk about this some more. Alden seemed incredibly pleased with his remarks. AJ and Ben had identical expressions of horror. They raised their hands to stop their parents from going any further. Mom, Dad, Ben and I have taken sex education. We know everything, probably more than the two of you. Plus, we live on a farm, Dad. All the animals are constantly, trying to make babies. No offense, but we have uber scary diseases that you all didn't have to deal with. Plus, girls are okay. They can be cool and then super annoying. They can be nice one minute and then mad the next, AJ explained. Ben piped up in disgust. Yeah, chicks are so bipolar. Then Ben rolled his eyes. Alden laughed, but Stella frowned. Again, Stella elbowed Alden. This is serious business, don't you know? Stella informed Alden. Alden dived back into his burger. So he could not smile or talk. Stella took a turn at eye rolling. Elijah spoke up from his sandcastle. You are so whipped, Dad. Alden looked at Elijah in outrage. This time Stella smiled and Alden frowned. All right. So next time I'll be reading episode 11 next time, and they get to meet the neighbors, and you're gonna find out more about the neighbor girls, and their names are Mary's older and Sarah is younger, and so you're gonna get to meet them. All right. Have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave comments. I would love to hear what y'all have to say. Um, and thank you for ignoring my craft room. Have a great day.